Hello guys, welcome to part 2 of this Pygame tutorial where I'm showing you how to build the Wordle game. And in the last part we created the tile class and we managed to draw all the empty tiles to the screen. So right now you should see something like this when you run your file. So you have all the tiles, they are drawn in the correct places and they are in the center of the screen. The next thing we need to do in here is we're gonna come right after this update function here. So I'm on the main file on the game class, yeah? So after the update function, we're going to define a function there to add a letter to the tile here, okay? So every time we type in a letter on our keyboards, then we're gonna pick the tile, the corresponding tile that we're typing in, and we're going to add that letter to that specific tile, okay? And then to do that, we're going to create this function that adds a letter, and we're going to go from tile and self.tiles, and we're going to go to the current row, okay? That's why we have that variable there, current row, so we can see which row we're actually on, so which word, which of the rows. And we're going to take that tile and we're going to do letter equals empty. Okay, so first of all, we're just clearing all the letters from all the tiles in the current row. So the row that we are in right now, we're taking all the tiles and we're just clearing the letter. We're putting empty letter for all of them. It doesn't matter if there was a letter in there before. We clear them all first, and then, so let me just put a comment in here. So empty all the letters in the current row. And then in here, we're going to add the letters typed to the current row. Okay, and then we're going to do a enumerate in here. So for I and letter in enumerate self.text. Okay, so we're going to be using this text variable here. So we're going to do the events later, but every time you type in a letter on your keyboard, that letter is going to be added to this text in here. Okay, so we take that text and then we do self.tiles and then self.current row and I. So if you don't know the enumerate, it takes an index, it records the index and the element on a list or a string. So we're taking the index and the actual letter in this text that we're typing in, okay? And then we go self.tiles, so the tiles list, and then we're selecting the current row that we are in right now and the index of the letter that we are typing in. So that index dot letter is equals to letter. So that's going to be equals to the corresponding letter in the text. And also we need to do self.tiles, self.current row I again. So the same thing, you can actually just copy and paste. And we need to call that create font function. Okay? Because right now, whenever we initialize a tile, and actually we didn't call this, we need to call this create font in here as well. So every time we initialize a tile, we create the font, but the font is empty at the moment. Okay, so there's no letter on it. Okay, so we're taking that letter, but there's no letter on it, it's empty. So whenever we add the letter to it, we have to call this function again because we need to render that letter that is in there. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Just don't forget to call this create font function in the constructor of tile, okay? So in here, we loop through the text that we're typing in, we add the letter to the right position, and then we just call the create font. And then in the update function, we are going to actually call this add letter. So every time this is on the game loop, okay? So it's going to happen 60 times per second because we put a FPS of 60. So this add letters is going to keep calling it. So we're going to keep emptying it and then adding the letters corresponding to this text. So every time we type in a letter, this text is going to update with the new letter in there, for example, and then this is going to happen. It's going to empty all the letters and then it's going to add that letter A to the text. Okay, so let's see if I run this now. We see we get the letter A in there. Okay, I'm going to put in here A, B, C, D, for example. If I run this, we get A, B, C, D in there. Okay, so we're just going to keep that empty for now. So now we have a way to add letters to our grid. Now let's go and do the actual events function, which will handle all the events that we're typing in on our keyboards. So right after this pygame.quit and then quit 0 with the code 0, we are going to go to the next line and we're going to add another event in here. So for events.type equals to pygame.keydown. So every time we press any key on our keyboards, this is going to trigger. And then we need to check for the event key. So the first key we're going to check is for pygame.k underscore return. So that's the enter key. So whenever you type a word, you press the enter key to check the letters to see if it's right or wrong, and also to go to the next line. Okay, so I'm just going to pass this for now. And then we'll have a elif event in here, which is the event.key equals to pygame.k underscore backspace. So the backspace is to erase. So if you type in some letters and then you make a mistake, or if you don't want to go ahead with that word, then you just press backspace and it will delete the letters. Okay, so again, just gonna pass this in here. Okay, and then the end, we just need an else statement for any of the other keys. So if we're not pressing return key and we're not pressing backspace, any of the other key, we're gonna check if it's alpha. So if it's a letter, not a number or a symbol, then we'll just add that to the text. Okay, so in the else in here, we can actually just type in this right now. So we're gonna first check if the length of self.text is less than 5, right? Because we don't want to go over 5 letters basically. And the event dot unicode dot is alpha. Okay, so we're calling this event the key that we're pressing in. Okay, so the event.key, and we're checking the Unicode with this isAlpha function. So that means it will check, it will only accept letters. It will not accept symbols or numbers. Okay, so we can only accept letters in our game. Okay, so if those two conditions are true, then we will take the text and we do plus equals event.unicode.upper. Okay, I'm gonna put the upper in here because we want to have all the letters capitalized basically. Okay, so basically we're just taking that letter that we're typing in and we're adding into the text. If it's a string, you can do this. Okay, so you can just do plus equals sign to another string. And then at the end here, after, we're going to add the box animation that pops the letter. Okay, let me just run this and see what's happening. Okay, so right now I'm typing in on my keyboard and I cannot type in anything after that. Okay, the backspace is not working and the enter key is not working. So let's change that. Let's do the backspace. Okay, so the backspace is very easy. If you want to delete a letter, you just take that text and you do equals self.text minus the last letter. Okay, so we're just doing self.text is equals to that same text, but we're going to remove the last element on that string. So that's very easy. If you run this, you can type in some letters, you can press backspace, and that will be deleted. Okay, the enter key is not doing anything at the moment. So for the enter key is going to be a little bit longer because we have to do many things inside there when we press to go to the next letter, or to the next row basically. The first thing we're going to check in here is if the length of the text is equals to 5. Okay, so that means the text has 5 letters on it. So we don't, if we press the enter key and there's no 5 letters in it, we don't want to execute the return this code basically. And then inside of here, the first thing we're gonna do is to actually run the algorithm that will check for all the letters, and then we'll place them. You place the colors into the letters. So then when we do the flipping animation, when we show to the user if it's right or wrong, then it already has those colors in it. Okay, so we're not gonna, I'm just gonna finish this first and then we're gonna go and create the function to check the algorithm basically, to check the letters. Okay, and then after that, we need to check if the text is correct or the player has used all his turns. Okay, then we need to basically end the game here. So if self.text equals to self.word, so right now we're just comparing our text that we're typing in to the actual words that we're trying to guess, or the self.currentRow plus 1 is equals to 6. Okay, so we're just thinking ahead. So if the current row plus 1 is 6, that means we are in the 6th row, and this is the end row, so we cannot do anything. So if the word is not right, but we are in the end row, we need to end the game. All right, and then in here now we just have to separate these two functions. Sorry, we just need to separate these two conditions. Okay, so the first one is the player lose. Okay, and then the lose message is sent. That is if self.text is not equals to self.words. Okay, so if we get to this bit, that means this is not right and this is true. So we are in the last row. Okay, and then we need to send a message. Okay, so we're just gonna pass this for a second for now because we don't have the UI class yet to edit the message yet. Okay, and then else. Okay, so that means we went inside of this, and then the word is the word that we try to guess. Then the player win. Player win. Send win message. Okay, so I'm just gonna pass in here. We're going to edit those later because these ones are easy. We just have to create an object with the message, the win message or the lose message basically. And then after all of this, we need to restart the game or reset the variables, right? So we need to do self.play equals false, and we need to break. Okay, because we don't want to check any of the other conditions that we're going to be adding here. So we can just break in here and it will break out of this event. And then the self.playing is false. Then it will just do this, this, and then it will stop basically. So after this break in here, we go back one. So in line with this if statement in here, we do self.currentRow plus equals 1 and self.text equals to empty string. Okay, so if we don't go inside of this, okay, so if the code comes to this point and the word is not, the text is not equals to the word, and the self.currentRow plus 1 is not equals to 6, that means we're still playing, we still have some of the turns. Then we'll update the current row, so we're gonna go one more row, so we need to go down one row, and we need to empty the text so we can type a new text in. Okay? And then, so if the length of the text is not equals to 5, then we need to send a message saying there's not enough letters in there, and we're gonna do that row animation as well. So in here, we're just going to put an else statement in line with this if length of self.text is equal to 5. And right about here, we're going to do the row animation and not enough letters message. Okay, just gonna pass in here so we don't get any errors. We're going to, once we do this row animation function, we'll just come back in here and add it in there. So this is all for the event sections actually. Alright, so I'm going to be leaving here for this part. So I hope you liked it, and if you were a bit lost on some of the parts, just leave a comment down below. I will check it out and I'll answer to you, try and explain a bit better. Okay? Anyway, stay safe guys, and I'll see you guys on the next part.